So now you're here for part two. Okay. In part one, as a recap, we said, hey, polling not looking too good, like 1%ish. Twitter looking okay if you compare yourself to Beto and Castro. Not that great if you compare yourself to Booty and Harris. Good mainstream media coverage. And betting markets are kind of, everybody's all clumped. We also talked about how Yang has an awareness problem or opportunity, but that not everybody who knows him loves him. And the Democrats don't know him as well as Republicans do, which is totally weird and has to do with media coverage. So I know some people were saying, hey, polls are BS, it's too early. If you really want to measure excitement, you should look at people showing up in real life. So I went on Instagram to some of the candidates' Instagram feeds, and I found some of their crowd shots. And I assume if this is from the official Instagram feeds of these candidates, they're going to show the biggest crowds they can. So here's Andrew Yang in South Carolina a few weeks ago. Pretty decent sized crowd, and I think this was his first time in South Carolina. And so that's pretty encouraging. Here is Beto in Iowa. Not a huge crowd. And so kind of consistent with what you'd expect, given that he's like rebooting his campaign and he and Yang are head to head. Here you got Pete Buttigieg, like decent sized crowd, but again, not massive. So I wouldn't be surprised if Booty might get more support in sort of national media coverage. And I'm not sure if that's going to necessarily reflect when people get to the polls, but we'll see. And then we have Kamala Harris. She had a nice showing, and she's drawing some crowds, at least based on this picture, if you look in the background. You got Biden's announcement. That was his announcement. Harris had a massive crowd when she announced, but okay. Bernie in Nevada turning out people. So when you think about sort of the crowd coverage, I'd have to give credit to Bernie and maybe Harris showing like really good on the ground support. And then Beto, Booty, and Yang, they might actually be more comparable than the polls show in terms of people on the ground showing up, which is great news for Iowa and New Hampshire, because we need people to actually get to the polls, not just, the people who answer phone interviews and things like that. Next, a startup called Listener that does some social analytics sent me some data. This is one of the things I thought was interesting, where they compared hashtag popularity. And big takeaway here is that MAGA, even though Trump hasn't started his campaign, is very, very strong, but Bernie also very strong. However, the Yang 2020 and Yang Gang hashtags are more popular, at least Yang 2020 is more popular than Beto 2020 and Warren 2020, and Yang Gang is more popular than No Middle Ground. I think No Middle Ground might be maybe Warren's thing. Medicare for All, I don't know who's that's for. It seems like everybody's for that one. And hashtag Trump is there too. So the good news is, I think on social media and Twitter, you've got Yang still being quite strong and maybe worthy of the title of the candidate of the internet. Now, I also wanted to show a poll over time from 2016. So for some of you who are like, man, your last part one video was really depressing, what's going on? Here's a little bit of encouragement. This is the Republican national primary race polling average over time from July of 2015 to April of 2016, when pretty much the nomination was wrapped up. And what you'll notice is this blue line is Trump. Obviously, he ends up winning the nomination, but try and find that blue line in June and July. It's in the clump, right? It's like we said, Yang was in the clump now in the Democratic side. Well, so was Trump. Now, he was, in fairness, a little higher than 1%. I think he was closer to 4 or 5%, but, he was a reality TV star, so he had a lot of awareness coming out of the blocks. And so what should we take away from this? I think what we should take away is that getting the nomination is a long slog. Pretty much through the whole summer, it's going to be just a dogfight, like a little league soccer game, where just a bunch of people clumped around a soccer ball. However, we will want to see Yang start to pull away in July or August. Now, when I say pull away, I don't mean like be number one, but he's got to get out of the whole like 1%ers area and get closer to Harris, closer to Beto and Warren. If he starts competing more with Beto and Warren, I think we'll be really encouraged for July, August timeframe. And then, of course, in the fall, you really want to start making things happen. But, you know, for those of you who say, hey, you know, your videos are kind of depressing, you seem kind of down on Yang, I try to keep it real. And in this case, I think we can say, you know, it's fun to look at these campaign updates in June of 2019, but we're kind of in the first inning of a very long game. Second thing I want to call out is we have some, if you want to help, you're saying, hey, I'm not thrilled with these numbers, I want Yang to do better. Couple things. One is I took a poll on Twitter, so if you haven't followed me, it's at Nerds for Yang. And what's interesting is the thing that attracts most people to supporting Yang is not the UBI and freedom dividend, but is, in this case, the way I worded one of the choices, math, logic, and reason. It's not his other policies, it's not his background, but it's more of like the way he solves problems. It's in some ways the opposite of Trump. Like you could say Trump is very instinctual, very gut, very emotional. I think Yang is very dispassionate, logical, data-driven, and doesn't necessarily worry about, well, is this coming from a Republican economist or a Democratic economist, or is this part of the Democratic platform in the past? He just says, hey, here's a problem. What's the best way to solve it? Second thing is over here, you'll see I've got a couple of petitions. I know some of you have already heard about it, but if you've heard about it but you haven't signed them, please go sign them. One is to get Andrew Yang on the Hot Wings interview show, which is one of the most popular YouTube shows around. If you haven't watched it, check it out. I think Yang will do great. If you have, then you know. And then the other one is 60 Minutes. Now, given what we saw about the 65-year-old and above problem in part one of this campaign update, I could argue that getting Andrew Yang on 60 Minutes is crucial. And right now, as of this taping, I think we're at about 6,500 signatures. Would love to get to 7,500 or 10,000 and just keep the pressure on 60 Minutes. And every time we hit a new milestone, I kind of reach out. And I'll tell you what, if we get to 7,500, I think I'll write a letter and I'll FedEx them a summary of the survey, of the petition rather, and try and get it that way. Because I have heard that, yes, you can tweet at them, yes, you can email them, but actually if you send it snail mail, it might get more attention. And last, let's say you've watched part one and part two and you're like, my God, I really, really like this guy. I really want him to be president. You have to give some money. Now, why? Why are you going to give money to someone who's going to give you money as part of his proposal? Because this is a long race. There's 24 odd people running for president. The mainstream media has already kind of fallen in love with Booty. And Harris and Warren already will continue to get coverage, and they deserve it. They're strong candidates. And then Bernie and Biden are household names. So how in the heck is Andrew Yang going to make it? He has to last the distance. And he's like a startup. Every day they're burning money. He's got to pay for travel. He's got to pay for staff. We want him to pay for advertising. We want him to invest in like those great videographers and video editors that are making these wonderful like vlog style videos, which I'll also link to below if you haven't seen them. But you got to give. And now is a great time because fundraising for these campaigns is kind of like success breeds success. So if he has a really great next, all the campaigns will announce how much they raise. I think they do it every 3 months. So if this quarter he can say, wow, we raised more than half of the field, that's going to generate news stories, and it's also going to generate more giving, and then it kind of snowballs. So please, even if you only can give $10 or $5, consider it, because number of donors is just as important as amount raised. Also, if you can give more than $5 or $10, if you can give whatever you can, I think the maximum is like $2,800. That's a lot. I'm not quite at that, at that level, but I've given a lot more than 10. I'm on the monthly plan, which is an option where you can just have it automatically bill your credit card for whatever you want, 50, $100 or $20 a month. That would be great too. So please think about that. Hopefully this update was useful to you. Please, if it was, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think on how we can help Yang succeed even more. Like it, share it, do all that good stuff, because these videos for this channel have now reached 45,000 different people, and hopefully we can get to 100,000 people that have seen the videos. We have 3,000 hardcore subscribers. Would love to boost that too. And so thanks, and let's get this one over the line by working hard, by being a team, and by doing everything we can to spread the word. So tell all your friends, not just on Twitter, but do it on Facebook. I know sometimes we don't want to get political on Facebook. I think it's time to help spread the word. If you know any women, please talk to them about Yang. If you know any seniors, please talk about Yang. So we'll see you next time. In the meantime, keep it real.